you've told me that I can't trust Palestinian figures.
There are journalists there.
Yes, why won't Israel allow foreign correspondents in? Why won't they allow Katya Adler in or Matt Fry? Why won't they allow Christiane Amanpour in? Why won't they allow people that have visited and reported on every other war zone in the world? And you're going to have to answer one of my questions.
My answer to you is, have you posed that question to them? Have you posed that question? Has LBC posed that question? What's the answer they've given?
Pose that question to whom?
Have you posed the question to the Israeli authorities why they won't allow LBC, BBC, Sky, why they won't allow them? Have you posed that question?
I will when I get the opportunity to ask them, but right now I'm asking. Right now I'm asking you.
Well, I think
and you're the answer to the question, Trevor. This is what you don't realise.
See,
you are the answer to the question, because if they allowed foreign correspondents in to provide independent verification, to provide international scrutiny, to report objectively, you wouldn't be able to ring this programme and say the things that you've just said.
James.
A caller rang in defending Israel's account of the war in Gaza. James O'Brien wanted something simple: facts checked by independent outside sources. So he asked the caller one question. Why won't Israel let foreign journalists in? Not Palestinian reporters, but the correspondents who've covered every other war on earth. The caller couldn't answer it, and James told him why he couldn't. Let's watch it together. And before I tell you to like and hit that subscribe button, please allow me the chance to earn that from you.
If these three men killed in Israel yesterday had been mixed race or black or Asian Brits, then I think that the reaction of the establishment would be the same. The reaction of some punters who claim to get cross about flags having their colours changed slightly while turning up at UKIP conventions with a purple union flag, them I can't speak for. But front pages of newspapers and political engagement, I think I can. 10:38 is the time. Saf, take care. Trevor's in Finchley on a better line. Where were we, Trevor?
Well, I start things, James. I agree with your initial comment that what happened yesterday was an absolute calamity. The fact that the aid organisation had given their coordinates to Israel and that they were still killed is indeed a tragedy. The larger issue is that should it affect the war? My own view is that it shouldn't. Israel's in a particular situation where they're confronted by an enemy that to request demands its elimination. They don't want a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution.
Well, Netanyahu and much of his cabinet doesn't want a two-state solution either. So does that justify their elimination from the other side of this argument?
I think you have to look at the history of...
Just answer the question, if you would.
Sorry, what was that?
Just answer. Well, you must know what the question was because you were just about to dismiss it.
I heard repeat the question, James.
Okay, so Benjamin Netanyahu and many members of his cabinet are on the record as opposing a two-state solution now. Does that somehow justify calls for their elimination as well? The two things don't run together. The fact that they want yes, they do.
You
told me that the justification for the elimination of Hamas, regardless of what the collateral damage to innocent civilians might be, was built upon their refusal to accept a two-state solution.
That's completely absurd.
So that's what you said. So I'm wondering whether Benjamin Netanyahu and
James.
I'm repeating your own words back to you.
The reason there's a war. The war is not because they want a one-state solution.
No, but the need to eliminate Hamas is because they reject a two-state solution. You just told me that.
They've launched a genocidal war on Israel. That is the reason there is a war, not because they have a view that they have a one-to-one state.
And you've just justified the elimination of everybody in Gaza in pursuit of Hamas.
How do you then convey the idea of wanting to demilitarize Hamas and remove them militarily?
Because you're here to justify the killing of civilians.
Who's justifying the killing of civilians?
Well,
who justifies? Where did I say that, James? Why are you inventing words?
Because you said that you want what's happening now to continue, and tens of thousands of civilians are already dead. Ergo, to call for what is happening now to continue, you're calling for the continuing killing of innocent civilians.
No,
this isn't complicated, Trevor.
They are. How many people have been killed in Gaza? 32,000?
That we know about.
So, that we know about. The United Nations number of civilians killed to combatants generally is recorded as 9 to 1. That's a UN figure. The number of civilians, the people who have been killed in total, is about 32,000. If you accept
that we know about.
No, James, if you accept Israel's figures of, say, 13 to 14,000 combatants...
Why would I accept those figures?
2.2. That is well below
Why would I accept those figures?
Nations have as a figure.
Why would I accept those figures?
What, you'd rather accept Hamas's figures rather than United Nations figures?
You're talking about Israel's
figures.
Hamas's
figures are more credible than United Nations?
I think that Human Rights Watch has detailed the measures that the Palestinian Health Authority takes to record casualties and deaths with reference to mortuaries and hospitals, and explained that by publishing biographical details and names, they have a more reliable record than many other comparable conflict zones, whereas you think you should trust what the Israeli Defence Force tells us while refusing to allow foreign journalists into that territory. Just talk me through that.
Well, I'd accept the United Nations. Well, the fact that all these figures are going to have to be verified at some time later.
So why are you telling me to trust one and not? Why are you telling me to trust one and not another then, Trevor?
Because the United Nations, the 32,000 figure comes from Hamas. You're quite prepared to.
It comes from the Palestinian Health Authority, which the Human Rights Watch have provided objective analysis of. Who provides objective analysis of what the Israeli Defence Force tells you?
Or Hamas. So if you're going to
you can't keep doing this. I've told you what Human Rights Watch say about the measures that the Palestinian Health Authority deploy to list their death toll. Who provides objective external scrutiny of the numbers that the Israeli Defence Force provides?
Well, you either accept Israel's.
You're going to have to answer the question at some point. Who provides objective international scrutiny of the numbers that you have come on the show to tell me I should trust?
I would like to suggest to you.
I'm going to ask you again until you answer the question, because we both know the answer. We both know the answer.
We don't know the answer. No, we don't, James.
Well, I'll tell you then, Trevor. Nobody.
No, you have. Well, either you accept or non-accept that Israel's figures are as close as verifiable as possible. Either you can denounce them because it's Israel.
But I've just told you that Human Rights Watch are the body to whom I turn for guidance on this matter. Who's the body to whom you turn for guidance on whether the IDF's figures are reliable?
Well, the United Nations Human Rights Watch is an organisation that has vilified Israel in the past.
Okay, so they're biased as well.
And so I would.
So then we come back to this question: why won't they allow foreign correspondents into the territory?
I've no idea. You'll have to ask them.
Let's think it through together, shall we? Because here we are arguing about the facts.
Why is that important to you? Why is that important to having all having?
Well, because I believe in objective. I believe in objective external scrutiny, and I'm intrigued as to why you think Israel rejects it at every turn.
I think there are more important issues at the moment.
Yeah, but you've rung in to talk about these issues, so you'll indulge me. You'll indulge me then, Trevor. Why would Israel refuse access to foreign journalists when people like you are so keen to have objective facts established by trustworthy outside sources?
Well, there are journalists there. There are Palestinian journalists there. Do you not accept
so we come back to the question. No, you've told me that I can't trust Palestinian figures.
There are journalists there.
Yes, why won't Israel allow foreign correspondents in? Why won't they allow Katya Adler in or Matt Fry? Why won't they allow Christiane Amanpour in? Why won't they allow people that have visited and reported on every other war zone in the world? And you're going to have to answer one of my questions.
My answer to you is, have you posed that question to them? Have you posed that question? Has obviously posed that question? What's the answer they've given?
Pose that question to whom?
Have you posed the question to the Israeli authorities why they won't allow LBC, BBC, Sky, why they won't allow them? Have you posed that question?
I will when I get the opportunity to ask them, but right now I'm asking. Right now I'm asking you.
Well, I think
and you're the answer to the question, Trevor. This is what you don't realise.
See,
you are the answer to the question, because if they allowed foreign correspondents in to provide independent verification, to provide international scrutiny, to report objectively, you wouldn't be able to ring this programme and say the things that you've just said.
James, do you know what if there were journalists involved with, what they would find is that arms in maternity wars,
you see?
Guns in pillowcases.
Yes, so then why wouldn't they? See, you've done it. You've proved my point even more powerfully. So everything, all of the journalists would discover things that completely support your position. So you must be furious that they're not allowed in.
No, because I trust the Israeli military authorities to make judgments that are right.
They've just killed three British aid workers. The people you trust to make judgments have just killed 3 British aid workers. Before you go, you remember when they shot 3 hostages who were wearing their underpants?
The Israeli hostages?
Yeah, the ones waving the white flags, wearing their underpants, who'd escaped. How's that? What's the latest on that investigation? From the people that you trust.
James, we're in the middle of a war. The fact that every single awful incident, like yesterday...
Are you going to answer one question that I've asked you, Trevor?
I've no idea if I'm sure...
These are the people that you trust. I'm looking for the grounds. What's the latest on that investigation? Because you're trusting them to conduct this investigation. What's the latest on the shooting of 3 Israeli hostages by the Israeli Defense Force, wearing their underpants and waving white flags? The hostages that we're told, and you believe, that countless civilians have to die to secure the release of.
Why do you put words in people's mouths? Where has anyone mentioned you're so polluted by your own and corrupted by your own language? You put words into my mouth that I never said.
You said that the war has to continue.
The war absolutely continue because they're.
And how many civilians have died so far? So that means the killing of civilians has to continue. I can't explain your own thoughts to you, Trevor. You have to take responsibility at least for them.
And I'm very happy to do that. But
well, except you're not, are you? Because you don't want independent journalists in the region. You don't want anybody to believe the figures that are provided by anybody other than the Israeli Defense Force, who you claim you trust completely, while you can't even tell me the state of the investigation into their shooting of the hostages that you claim the release of is the justification for the entire conflict in Gaza in the first place.
Why does the UK government support Israel in its war aims? Why do they do that,
say that again?
Why did your government support Israel in its war aims at the moment? Why do they do that, James?
That's a brilliant question.
What do you think, James? Give me your own independent objective view of why England, the British government, is supporting Israel in its aims of destroying Hamas. Why do you think that is?
Well, they're not, are they?
No,
they're not supporting. They've called. They have absolutely laid down a red line on Rafah. They've made it absolutely clear that they don't support war crimes. They've made it absolutely clear that they don't support a ground offensive. That they don't support a ground offensive in Rafah, and they've made it absolutely clear that the unnecessary killing of civilians is something that can't be countenanced. Israel riding roughshod over all of that, absolutely. Again, you make a brilliant point. Benjamin Netanyahu has made the British government look both ridiculous and weak.
I think the British government has
Hang on, you're asking me what I thought.
Okay.
So I'm answering your question. Benjamin Netanyahu has made the British government look ridiculous and weak, just as he has made you look ridiculous and weak.
Well,
and also profoundly wrong.
Personal, wish you reject my view.
But hang on, you just talked to me about pollution. You got personal first, Trevor. I'm only meeting you on your own battlefield.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't defined your opinion or anything like that. But the British government.
So we'll return to what to me is the killer question, the most crucial question of all.
What is that?
And that is, why won't they let journalists in?
Perhaps it's too dangerous to have
the journalists. The journalists make that decision.
Journalists made that decision. No, but it's for the military authority to decide whether it's prudent, given their military operations.
And then 2 minutes ago, you were reminding me that there are Palestinian journalists there.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, so why won't they let foreign correspondents who are absolutely chomping at the bit to get into Gaza get into Gaza?
Well, I don't know.
You're not going to answer it. You know that. I know that.
No.
We know what the answer is. We know that it's because Israel cannot countenance what would actually be reported.
What, hiding arms in maternity wards?
No, because they can't let journalists in, because if they did, you wouldn't be able to come on the radio and tell lies like that.
A lie of finding arms and finding munitions in a maternity ward, is that a lie?
Well, you tell me. You tell me the journalists that have reported that.
No, you've just bold-faced said it was a lie. So obviously you have evidence.
You tell me the journalists that have. You tell me the journalists that have reported that. You tell me the journalists that have reported that, or have you taken that from the same people that killed the 3 British aid workers yesterday?
I take that from the video evidence of the army who have gone in.
Say that again. Say that again more slowly. The video evidence that who?
The video evidence from the Israeli army, from lady soldiers.
So there we are. And that's the answer to your question. They can't let journalists in because then people like you wouldn't be able to take videos filmed by the actual soldiers killing the civilians as truth, would you?
Well, from your position, James, anything Israel says is obviously always going to be wrong.
Which is why you need independent journalists in there. Which is why you need independent journalists in there, Trevor. You see it now, finally.
So you're accepting Hamas's figure, which you're saying...
No, I'm accepting a Human Rights Watch's analysis of how the Palestinian Health Authority assembles its figures. And you are reminding everybody listening why journalists aren't allowed in by Israel. Because you wouldn't then be required to rely on footage filmed by the actual soldiers killing the actual civilians, Trevor. But here you are, live on the radio, saying it out loud.
James, you're very good at contorting, distorting.
I'm not, Trevor. I'm very good at holding up mirrors and repeating people's words back to them.
You're an excellent journalist, but you use it to create...
I'm very good at repeating people's words back to them. Without you, Trevor, I'm nothing. It's 10 to 11.
Let me be clear about what this call is. Because on a subject this raw, it's easy to mishear. This isn't a video about who's right in the war. It's about a single question, one that has nothing to do with your politics and everything to do with how any of us can know anything. Who checks the facts? And it's a question the caller, Trevor, cannot answer, and by the end, cannot escape. First, let me be fair to Trevor, because James O'Brien is. Trevor opens by calling the killing of the 3 British aid workers a calamity, a tragedy. He's not gloating about it. His position is that, terrible as it is, it shouldn't change the course of a war he believes Israel has to fight to eliminate Hamas. That's his sincere view, and I'm not going to pretend he said something uglier than he did. When James later suggests he's justifying dead civilians, Trevor pushes back hard. Who's justifying that? Where did I say it? That objection is his, and it's fair to record it. But here's where it turns, and it turns on evidence. The two of them get into the death toll, around 32,000, James says, citing the figure from the Palestinian Health Authority. Trevor won't accept it. He says it comes from Hamas. And James corrects him with something specific. Human Rights Watch has examined how that health authority records deaths, with names, biographical details, cross-referenced against hospitals and mortuaries, and found it more reliable than the record in many other war zones. Trevor's answer is to dismiss Human Rights Watch as biased against Israel, which leaves him trusting one source and one source only, the Israeli Defense Force itself, and that's the trap James springs, not with a trick, but with a question so simple it's almost innocent. Who provides objective, external scrutiny of the numbers the IDF gives you? And Trevor has no answer, because there isn't one. James says it plainly. Nobody. No one. Then comes the question the whole thing is built around, and it's the one you should sit with whatever you believe about this war. If Trevor cares so much about trustworthy, objective facts, why won't Israel let foreign journalists in? Not Palestinian reporters who are there, but the outside correspondents, the Kate Adys, the Christiane Amanpours, the people who've reported from every other war zone on earth, who are, in James's words, chomping at the bit to get in. Why are they kept out? And Trevor can't answer that either. He tries deflection. Have you asked them, is it too dangerous? That's for the military to decide. And James closes it with the line the video is named for. You are the answer to the question, Trevor, because if independent correspondents were allowed in to verify things objectively, you wouldn't be able to ring this program and say the things you've just said. Now here is the moment that proves the entire point, and I'm going to report it exactly as it happened, attributed, because I'm not adjudicating it. Trevor offers, as a thing journalists would find, the claim that weapons were hidden in a maternity ward. James asks him directly, where does that come from? Which journalists reported it? And Trevor's answer is revealing. It comes, he says, from video evidence filmed by the Israeli army, by the soldiers themselves. And there it is. James doesn't have to say a word about whether the claim is true or false. He just points out what Trevor has done. To prove Israel's case, he's relied on footage filmed by one side in the war, the very side whose account is in question, while rejecting every independent body that might check it. The absence of outside journalists isn't a gap in Trevor's argument, it's the whole foundation of it. And that's the theme this channel keeps returning to, in maybe its sharpest form yet. Belief over verification. Not belief instead of a fact, but belief that actively needs the facts to stay unchecked, a position that only survives as long as no independent eye is allowed to look. James names it perfectly at the end. He says he's just holding up a mirror, repeating people's own words back to them. And the reflection Trevor sees is a man who wants to be certain about a war, on the condition that nobody neutral is ever allowed to confirm it. Let me say what I always say on these, and mean it. I'm not telling you who's right about Gaza. I can't. This clip can't. And anyone selling you certainty about a catastrophe this size should be treated with suspicion. What the call demonstrates is narrower and it belongs to no side, extraordinary claims need independent scrutiny, and any account that can only survive by keeping the neutral witnesses out is an account you should hold very loosely indeed. That's true of every party to every war, including the ones you instinctively trust. So no clever sign-off today. If it made the case for letting reporters do their job anywhere the powerful would rather they didn't, that's enough. Give it a like, share it with someone who argues in good faith, and subscribe if you'd like more. The whole thing comes down to one question, and it's a good one to carry around. Who's allowed to check?